All right, it says we're live. If anybody's watching, welcome to Trail Chatter episode 2. Today we're sitting down with Matt Williams, the Catamount Trail Executive Director. He is approaching his 3rd year leading the Catamount Trail Association. So we thought we'd sit down and figure out, talk to him about how it's going. Hey Matt, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
We were just chatting a little bit ago about how it's a little bit strange that we're interviewing you, being that we work together. But at the same time, we are now approaching a year under pandemic protocols in the office. So I honestly haven't seen you that very frequently over the last year.
I know it's a little strange.
Yeah. So let's start off a little bit with where are you living right now? You're in Vermont. So you're out in Moortown. And you grew up in Vermont, right?
I did, yeah. So we live in Moortown. I'm an Upper Valley kid originally, though. I grew up in Sharon, Vermont, down near the Connecticut off 89, and spent most of my life there. My parents still live in the Upper Valley, and after college, I lived in Montpelier and Moortown for a bit, and my wife and I left for a few years, and now we're back for good this time, for sure.
Nice.
Not going anywhere now.
And it's not just you and your wife anymore, right?
No, we have a little boy, which is awesome, and yeah. So skiing has changed a little bit this year, but he's about 4 months old, so he's spending lots of time in the chest carrier, getting out in the snow, and that's been whole new experience, super fun.
And you guys have some backyard trails, so it's really easy to get out.
Yeah, man, just super grateful for those this year. That's for sure. Yeah. Nice not to have to get in the car to go ski, and the snow is awesome. So
yeah, perfect. So when was your first time on skis? If you grew up in Vermont, I imagine it was pretty early, but
it was pretty early. It's pre my memory for sure. My parents have stories of me when I was, I guess they took me skiing as an infant, in a backpack. They're jealous of all the sweet carrier systems that exist now. The technology is definitely, for skiing with an infant, has definitely improved in 30 years. But yeah, so they took me skiing as an infant, and I've heard stories of as maybe an 18-month-old or so. I had these little Sorel boots that were multiple sizes too big so I could grow into them, and they would get me out of the backpack at snack breaks and clamp the front of the Sorel that was way out beyond my toes into the 3-pin binding, and I would not go anywhere but try to lift the skis up off the snow and stomp around in a circle kind of thing at break. So I think those are my first ski experiences, but
that's awesome. And so it sounds like skiing was part of your childhood growing up. And were you guys, was your family kind of alpine focused, backcountry, Nordic, kind of multidiscipline?
Kind of everything, but yeah, more backcountry than anything else. I did, not as a little kid, but eventually I started Nordic ski racing, and I, as a Bill Koch skier, J4s, I started racing, and I raced through high school. And I alpine skied a little bit. I learned how to alpine ski at Suicide 6 through the school ski runners, youth learn to ski program. And but I stopped alpine skiing in 4th grade, and we basically skied out the back door. That's what we did. So I had some waxless Carhoos and various iterations of ski after that. And I just learned how to tele ski on skinny skis and 3-pins, and I grew up on a little farm, and so we had 14 acres of fields out the back door, and our neighbors had a sugar bush up above that, and so I'd just go out and tromp around and try to figure it out.
That's awesome. So it sounds like backcountry skiing was there right from the beginning. And
yeah, it wasn't big mountain stuff, but it definitely local backcountry for sure. Yeah.
Well, I feel that's what the Catamount Trail is about. It's not necessarily big mountain skiing. It's just about being in your backyard and kind of cruising being in the woods in the winter.
Absolutely.
Do you have like an early ski experience that was like kind of like really solidified, like skiing need to be part of your life, or was it just kind of like, it seems like it was just so pervasive it might be?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah, we were, I was trying to think about that, and yeah, it really just was like, I mean, I played hockey some when I was a kid too, so there was some skating in my life, but really it was just like in the winter we went skiing, and so I can't really remember a moment. It was just sort of what I did, and I've always loved it, and I as a kid I basically, like, unless the logistics of hockey practice precluded it, if there was snow on the ground, I went skiing. So, and then by the time I was in middle school, I wasn't even playing hockey anymore. So I just basically skied every day. And yeah, I don't know. It's just it's always been what you do in the winter for me.
Yeah, so not so much a thing of like, I need this in my life, but like what's life without skiing?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds fun. I wish I grew up in Michigan, lower Michigan, so skiing really wasn't a part of my growing up.
Yeah, I definitely feel lucky to have grown up where I did in a rural part. I mean, all of Vermont is rural, but just to have that access like right out the door, it changes the nature of things. And the times I've lived in cities, it's just been such a struggle. I've never been able to wrap my head around having to get in the car every time time I want to do something,
Sure.
Yeah.
And with all the skiing, this long history of skiing, have you ever tried snowboarding?
Only, I think once. I I only remember one time, and one of our neighbors snowboarded. He was around my age, and it was just out in our backyard, like on the little hill behind our house, and he let me try it, and I went like 30 feet and went off a little bump and like nosedived into the snow and crashed, and it did not go well. And yeah, never got into it. I did teleboard for a season or two, not exclusively, but a little bit.
Nice.
Super weird bit of telly trivia there for the people who remember teleboards. But
that's awesome. So I assume you ride lifts some of the days and backcountry ski some of the days. Do you have I mean, we're talking now, like, do you have kind of a go-to resort that you and how often would you say you split your days between backcountry skiing and lift serve?
Well, these days it's basically all backcountry. I haven't had a pass for a few years, and I think we rode lifts at Mad River like 2 or 3 days last year. And that was it. Mad River is sort of the go-to resort if we're going to ride lifts. We ski Ellen once in a while too. But basically it's basically all backcountry at this point. And honestly, I don't really have anything against riding lifts, but I'd kind of rather just be in the woods. So that's just what I find myself gravitating towards. And the full range of backcountry skiing for sure. I mean, I do AT days and days on the skinny skis, and a little bit of Nordic skiing in there, and everything in between. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think most days, most years I might ride 2 or 3 days on the lifts if anything. It's just, I guess if I have to pick one or the other, and backcountry skiing is available, I'm gonna go do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I was gonna ask you I know you're a big biker. I was gonna ask you to pick, if you had to pick one or the other, ski or bike. I know this is an impossible question, but I know I'm gonna skip that one. I'm not gonna put you on the spot. If you pick one.
I appreciate that.
So let's talk about your time at the CTA now. You are approaching this spring. It'll be 3 years that you've been with the CTA as the executive director. What were you, before you came to the CTA, what were you doing?
Before the CTA, there was a lot of biking in my life for sure. I ran a collegiate cycling program down in Asheville, North Carolina, so competitive race team. We raced mountain bikes, cyclocross, and road. And So I was coaching and running that program. It was really great job, really fun. Worked with a lot of amazing student athletes. And I did that for about 5 years. Prior to that, I ran events for Onion River Sports, now Onion River Outdoors, and was a teacher, high school teacher for a while. Worked for BYCC, and I had a stint as a writer and editor for a mountain bike website. So it's sort of circuitous career path. It's been a little all over the place, but lots of tie-ins to getting outdoor work and getting people outside throughout it.
Nice. And then when you found the job, when you discovered the job at the CTA, were you looking for a way back to Vermont? Were you already on your way back to Vermont? Did the job bring you back to Vermont, or were you kind of already on your way?
We knew we were coming back. Yeah, Asheville had always been, it's an awesome town. I totally encourage people to, especially if you like mountain biking or road biking or hiking, trail running, whitewater paddling. It's a really, really cool place to check out. But we always knew we were going to come back to Vermont. My wife's from here as well. She grew up in Montpelier, and we own the land in Moortown that we have a house on now. And so it was going to happen, and one way or another. But yeah, when the CTA job came up, it was like, that's what I want to do. That's it right there. So I got lucky.
Was there anything else on the table at that time, or was it kind of like?
I mean, we wanted to come back, so I was looking around, but it had applied to a couple other jobs, I think, but this was definitely what I wanted to do, and I was calling in every favor I could think of to make it happen. Yeah,
We're glad to have you. So what was it like coming into like our team's pretty small. There's 2 of us that are full-time, and we have our business manager, part-time business manager, Matt Larson, and then an AmeriCorps, a rotating cast of AmeriCorps members that we're actually trying to slow the rotation down a little bit right now. What was it like coming into such a small organization and being asked to be like take over the reins and lead it?
Yeah, it was. It was super exciting. It's also a big challenge for sure. I mean, I think small organizations are, they're pretty common in Vermont, but they're a challenge in that you got the job is a little bit of everything, and so there's just a lot of all the jobs are sort of composite jobs of like all these little pieces that have to happen for the organization to work. And I think that the CTA in particular has a pretty diverse program portfolio. I don't know if that's the right word, but obviously the Catamount Trail is has always been the core of our work and is really central to the organization. But we do a lot at this point beyond the Catamount Trail and in conservation work with our youth programs, with the chapter program, with tours, with events, communications, policy work on the statewide level. So there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of history, and it definitely took a lot of time to sort of wrap my head around the sort of full scope of the organization.
So when you first stepped foot in the office, did you feel like ready to do it, or did it, with a little bit of hindsight, did it take a little bit of time to kind of get a hold of everything and kind of grow into the role a little bit maybe?
Yeah, I think probably both. And, I certainly had ideas and had talked to a lot of people former board members or people who had been involved in backcountry skiing in Vermont. But, I think it's where we're at now as an organization, and where I'm at now as the ED is certainly not where, I would have sort of placed myself for the organization 3 years ago. And that's just, which is great. I think that's the beauty of running a good process, is that you discover things that, we've gone through a strategic planning process and some other things since then. And like, that's the beauty of it. You sort of uncover things that you wouldn't have anticipated. And so much of it is, sort of where the interest and the passion is within the community, and trying to support that. And so it's been really fun to see how things have evolved, and to get to know, every year I get to know more more members of the CTA community. That's slowed down a little bit this year for sure, but a little harder to connect with people. But yeah, it's an ever expanding circle for me, which is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the last 3 years went by kind of in a blink. Looking back on it, maybe not the last like few months, but so how would you say it's going? Is it kind of an extension of the last question? Like, is it what you expected, or is it more? Yeah, I'm sure it's, but I'll let you speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different and more, and I think things are going really well. I feel really excited about what we're doing as an organization right now, and the direction that we're headed, and feel like we have an awesome team in place, and a really great board in place, and just lots of pieces are sort of coming together in really exciting ways. It's not, there were challenges that were out there for the organization that I knew about coming in, and others that I didn't, of course. And I think through the interview process in the first 6 months, 12 months of the job, we had some ideas about what we really needed to solve for and where we needed to go. And some of that stuff is still in motion, but as we sort of alluded to, that direction has shifted a little bit. I think that the headline in that is the growth of our youth programs. And that's one of those things that, I think everybody would have agreed was important, from the beginning of my tenure and well before that. But to see the way that communities have responded, and the interest and participation levels that we've seen, with a little bit of extra input, we've just seen that program grow exponentially, and the interest is almost unlimited at this point. And so, we've wanted to do more in that space for a while, I think, and now that the organic interest and desire of communities to participate and get more kids out skiing is there. And so that's really driving a lot of what we're doing, and that's just like really, really exciting to see. I think the benefits of being outside are clearer and clearer for all sorts of reasons: physical health, mental health, community relationships, and so to play a more active role in making that possible for people, students and adults across the state, is really exciting to me.
For sure. I mean, I feel like this year, some of the community programs that we've started kind of in response to kind of the pandemic, and just being able to continue connecting some of these communities with the outdoors have really kind of, I feel like, have really opened our eyes to some of the need and the desire that's out there. Just because, I mean, I'm thinking of our Gilbrook program right now, and like,
Yeah.
we were expecting dozens of people to participate, maybe. And we've had, the weeks have gone from 45 people to 100 people. We just don't have, we can't meet the need right now.
Yeah.
It's like, and seeing that need out there, and being it being so great, it just makes us, I feel like we're all kind of like wanting to kind of figure out how we can better serve all of these people. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like I really feel like, the trail is an amazing resource, and the backcountry zones are amazing resources, but they're just platforms ultimately. And, the power of those resources comes from, people using them, and the experiences that they have, and the relationships that form while they're out there skiing the trail or exploring these zones. And, that's really the power of them. And so I think what we're what we're learning more and more, and it's just, maybe it's sort of obvious and simple, but the easier we make it for people to get out on skis in their backyards, and the more we sort of reduce those barriers and make the equipment available for free, and ease the transportation burden, all those things that people are really excited to get out there. And so that to me is just such impactful work, and I'm really glad to see us doing more of it.
Yeah, and it's just so exciting to see. I mean, it's feel good work, but at the same time, it's just waiting there for someone to do it, and I feel like we're so well positioned right now.
Yeah. And it is feel good work, but it's important too. I think certainly the pandemic has reinforced that in a really visceral way for a lot of people, to sort of see all this. It's been so inspiring to see all the stories of people who have sort of reconnected with going for long walks, or skiing or mountain biking or hiking or whatever it is, like whatever gets them outside. And just the way that has sort of gotten people through this really challenging year has been really cool to see. In some ways. But I think the research on the role that being outside can play for people in maintaining physical health, maintaining mental health, and in all sorts of other educational outcomes, and the list goes on. It's pretty compelling, and it's a growing body of research, I think. And so I'm certainly not an expert in it, but I try to. It's cool to see the sort of research catching up to that, and just that it's important to be outside. It's important to, in Vermont, that means for a large chunk of the year, you got to get outside in winter, and that's, uncomfortable for a lot of people. And it requires some skill sets to be comfortable and to have fun doing it. And so, I think that's sort of where we can come in to help facilitate that. So.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and so kind of along those lines, is there one aspect of your work at the CTA that you found super rewarding, like one of the things that you're really glad that you're involved in?
I don't know if I could pick one. It's like, I feel like we're talking a lot about youth programs here, but I could talk sort of, we could go off on a tangent about our conservation work and the amazing partners that we work with there, and the sort of long-term impact of conserving both the trail and mountain landscapes that we're involved in. The same could be said for the trail work and the work with chapters, and the impact that has on communities. And so that's, to me, that's what's exciting, is that I think we talk a lot about access and getting people outside, but I think what I really love is that I feel like we take a fairly holistic approach to that. We're not just engaged in one aspect of it. We're building the resources. We're trying to make sure that they're protected for the long haul, and we're trying to invest in the programs to actually give people the tools to get out and use them, and explore their backyard. So I don't know, that to me, it's like the fact that we do all, it's not the one thing, it's that we do all of it, that I think is most energizing and exciting.
So on the opposite side of that, what's one aspect of the job you could do?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're really, in a lot of ways, we're really lucky. Like, there's it's a pretty small world, this outdoor recreation nonprofit world, in Vermont in particular, but in general, and it's really, it is definitely hard work at times, but it's really fun and rewarding too, and you get to work with a lot of phenomenal people. And so, yeah, I don't know that anybody would say that they love raising money or some of these other things, but it's okay.
I was gonna say, if you had to give up, if you didn't have to fundraise, would you miss that? I mean, I
don't know if I'd miss it, but we do. We also we have awesome supporters too, who are who are fun who are great people to get to work with too. So it
does connect with a lot of great people.
It really does. the volunteer and supporter and member base of, I think of most outdoor rec organizations in Vermont, but certainly the CTA, it's just such an amazing group of people. And it really is like, it's inspiring to get to go out on the trail or visit everybody and like hear their stories of how they got involved and what they've, how they've worked with the organization over the years. And yeah, we're indebted to them in a in more ways than we even know, for sure.
Sure. I mean, I do want people to know that we do not like asking for money. Though it does come with, like you're saying, with all these perks that it does connect us. Like we do have such a great community, and there's so many amazing people and stories and the history of the trail. Like we've been around for 35 plus years. So even I've been with the organization now going on, I don't even know, 8 years, I think. And you're always meeting new people and learning new things. And it's just it is a really special community and kind of a privilege to be sit where we sit.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, all right. So, if you didn't get the job at CPA, and what would you be doing right now in 2021?
Oh man, I have no idea. It's sort of a retrospective through line for sure. It's at times been intentional and at times serendipitous and at times not really there at all. But I do think I sort of look back on the work I've done, and it does. The through line is engaging in ways to get people outside in meaningful ways and connect to the landscape and connect to place so I'd like to think I'd probably be doing something, generally in that vein. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to go back and think what else I would have done.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here now for sure.
Yeah, so kind of along those lines, I mean, basically what we do at the CTA, we've kind of alluded to it. We help people get outside and play outside. And so why do you feel like playing outside, and we alluded to this too, but like why it's so important? Why should other people care about getting, people out, like us helping us get other people outside?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's sort of two ways to respond to that. One, there's sort of the analytical take, which we spoke to a little bit earlier, that, there are a lot of, real outcomes associated with being outside and I think those are really important and important to stay connected to and in touch with and integrate into our work, and they help us do our work better. But there's also just the personal element of it for me, that when I look at my own, my best friendships, my closest relationships are all ones that were forged on trails, or in the woods one way or another. And I think that's true for a lot of people, and it's certainly been a huge part of what's connected me to the land of Vermont as well, in a really deep and intimate way. For some people it's farming. For some people it's, gardening, but for me it's getting out in the woods on my skis or bike or hiking or running or whatever. And so, I think that just knowing, it took me a little while to come to terms with that, in some ways, or just to sort of recognize that, and to sort of acknowledge the importance of it. But, I think that's, on a personal level, that's it for me. It's just sort of knowing the impact that it's had on my life, and knowing the impact that it's had on a lot of people's lives who I know, and just really feeling, passionately that if more people had the chance to engage in that and experience it, we'd all be better off. And so, I think that's what it comes down to in the end.
Yeah, for sure. I sometimes I think about this in terms of like education, like where people that don't have kids are like, why should I have to pay for, why should my taxes go to school? And I'm like, well, you live in a world with other people, right? And you want those people to be educated. And I feel like the same thing's true, like with outdoor, like being able to play outside, like all those positive outcomes that are a result of having access to kind of recreation and being outside and all this stuff, like they not only make people's lives better, but those people are like, they're more fun to engage with. And like, if you live in a world with, people that have like positive outlook on life, and, it's just it just elevates everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Plus it's just fun, right? Skiing's just fun.
Communities like Randolph, like where these like these kind of like outdoor centers are popping up, like life there is great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like recreation's opening this door for having people having like great lives. There's businesses coming in, like, you know what I mean? I just think like it creates a space, a place where people want to be, and if people want to be there, they're going to want to build a wonderful life there, and then like that affects the neighbors, and so it kind of trickles down. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's nice to be able to play a role in that, here for sure. So getting kind of close to the end. So imagine 40 years from now, you're looking back on your time at the CTA, and what is it that Matt Williams is known is remembered for?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't, I do feel like there's don't take this in a self-aggrandizing way. So I'm not suggesting any sort of equivalency, but the organization we have been around for a long time, like Barack Obama talks about like the relay race, and you're just like passing along the baton, right? And we're just doing our little thing in our corner of the recreation world in Vermont. But like, we have been around for 35 years, and you talk to the people who are involved at the beginning, and there is an element of that to it, where you really, I feel like there is a legacy to the organization that we're stewarding, and sort of passing that on. But I hope that we collectively, as the staff and the board at this point, can sort of leave our mark on things and leave it better than we found it, and leave it help the organization continue to be dynamic. I think one of the cool, exciting things about CTA is just it just has, in my sort of short period of involvement with it, it's just it doesn't feel like it's ever been a static organization. Like, yes, we built a trail, but we never sort of organizationally stopped at that. And it took a long time, and it took a huge amount of work and time and money, but we didn't like then say, okay, we're done, and the sport has evolved too. But I think, it's a pretty dynamic time in outdoor rec right now. And so, I think we're grappling with a lot around climate change and changes in the outdoor rec world. And so, I'm filibustering a bit here, but I don't know exactly what it will be. I hope that the youth programs piece is part of it. I hope that we can really dramatically expand that program, and that's a part of it. And if that was all of it, I'd be happy with that. But I think we've got a little more up our sleeves too. So.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like what you're getting at is like, even in my time here, like the organization has evolved quite a bit. When I started, like the trail was it. That's all we did. And now, now chapters exist, youth programs have expanded, significantly. And, with climate change on the horizon, basically staring us down right now, we know more changes are coming, to like what it means to recreate in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, hopefully both of us are just kind of like in our tenure is like maintaining our relevance and getting people outside and helping people recreate while we're here.
Yeah.
Depending on what the ground game is, I mean, it's like, so, any other thoughts that you want to share with like people that, you might not have met yet that are out there? I was going to say my last question is like, any thoughts on what's next after the CTA, or are you still feeling like you're just getting started here?
Yeah, I'm not there yet. That's for sure. No, I feel like
gonna have to say that, right?
Yeah, but yeah, right. Have to say, but for sure. But at the same time, I think we've alluded to it in various places. Like we're just it's really exciting to me, some of the projects that are in the works, and it's sort of frustrating to have to like say that without offering a lot of specifics and details. Some of them, we work a lot with public land managers and private land owners as well, and like projects just take a while. And we want to do it right, and that takes time for sure. And but there's some really exciting conversations going, and some projects that are pretty close. And there's other things like the youth programs that we can talk a little more about. But there's a lot to try to make happen over the next few years. And so I feel like I'm pretty focused on that, which is fun, and I think the big thing to say is to express the gratitude to the so many members and supporters who I've met and haven't met. And I think it's just endlessly amazing to we send out letters, we send out emails, and people respond, and then when I do get to talk to people, or when I see the notes that people send, or it's clear how much the trail and how much these backcountry zones mean to people, and how much the work we do impacts people's lives. And so I'm really grateful to get to be a part of that, but also just so grateful for people's support. It's you don't have to pay to use the Catamount Trail. You don't have to pay to go ski at any of the chapter zones. That's not how it's set up. So it's but it does take a lot of work, and it does take money to make these things happen. And so just endlessly and ever grateful to the people who step up and say, yeah, I want to support it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So I think that's it. So, thank you, Matt, for taking some time out of your day. I know it's been a little bit weird this year. We're all working kind of remotely. I do get to kind of co-opt the office more often than anybody else. But it must be nice not having to commute as much. I want to
more fun for backyard skis, that's for sure. So.
And I want to thank everybody that's watching this right now, or might watch this in the future. We appreciate your attention. You can find more of Matt's recent work over at catamounttrail.org. And consider renewing that membership if you're visiting. And with that, stay tuned. Next week we're going to be sitting down with Milan Kubala. He's also known as the Denim Ghost, and here in Vermont. And we'll see what happens. Happy winter.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, and we're out.